So part 2 of my Analysed Cash Book video is taking what we've done in the Analysed Cash Book and posting them now into the general ledger. So my Analysed Cash Book tracks all of my spending, but now I kind of want to put all of that spending into different analysis accounts so that I can know really, really easily what each category has either brought in terms of like sales or what I spent my money on, okay? And that's actually going to be very important for when I prepare my financial statements. Okay, so all of these, I'm going to do these analysis columns. That allows me then to create a trial balance. My trial balance is then used to go on to prepare my financial statements. Okay, so that's how it all links together. So what we're going to have here, we see a load of accounts here, and essentially what I have to do is create an account for every single analysis column that I would have had in my Analysed Cash Book. So if I come up here and I'm focusing on my green here, because we said it's the analysis columns I'm looking at, and I'm actually just going to label my accounts. So I'm going to have a sales account, I'm going to have a VAT account, and then the next one up to that was capital. I know after that then it was purchases. I'm going to put all my VAT, my sales and my purchases VAT together. I am going to have my wages and my telephone and broadband accounts. Okay, so I got them all set up. So one for each. Now, before I get going, there's one very, very important accounting concept, or two actually I'm going to do. So first of all, I'm going to give us a rule. For every debit, there has to be a corresponding credit. So accounting is all about balancing. So my debit side and my credit side will always end up balancing. You'll see that in your trial balance, okay? So if something is on the debit side once, it automatically means it's going to go on the credit side. If something starts off on the credit side, it's going to go on the debit side. So for example, my sales are on my debit side of my cash book because there's money in, so they'll go on the credit side of my general ledger. There's two ways of thinking about that. That's just a rule to learn, girls. If you're trying to understand it then, like why is that a debit and why is that a credit, this might also help you. Essentially, I am debiting the receiver and I'm crediting the giver. And every time a transaction happens in accounting, you are receiving something, but you are also giving something away. So let's go back to sales. So I am receiving in the money for the sales that I've made. That's my receiving element. That's why I'm debiting it. But I've had to credit, like I've had to give away goods to get that. Like I'm not getting money for nothing. Like they're not just paying me, I hold on to my goods, okay? So I'm actually giving them the goods. So that's why I'm crediting my sales. So hopefully that will make sense. So I'm coming up here, girls, and I generally post the totals. You can do them separately, but I like to post the totals. When I'm posting the totals, I generally use the last day of the month. So it's on the debit side, my Analysed Cash Book. So it's going to go on the credit side of my general ledger. So on the 31st of the 5th, coming from my bank account, I have €33,000 in sales. So you can come up here and you can see, I'm just going to highlight this, just more for my 33,000, and I'm matching it here for 33,000. Now, the accounting way to show that I'm kind of finished in an account and that I'm closing it out and I have nothing more to do is to double underline the entry in red. So I would suggest you always do that, and please use a ruler. So I've done my sales account. Okay, so again, just going to tick that off to show that I've kind of tackled that. The next thing I'm going to do is my VAT account. So I have VAT on the debit side of my Analysed Cash Book. So that means that sales VAT is going to go on the credit side of my general ledger. So on the 31st of the 5th, I have my sales VAT and it's 7,590. I should be really using my other colour pen for this, so bear with me. So 7,590 is my sales VAT, okay? Now, that's that one done. But I know I actually have another VAT account. So I'm actually going to do the same. I'm going to do my other VAT account at the same time. So on the 31st of the 5th, I had purchases VAT. My purchases VAT up here, girls, is on the credit side of my Analysed Cash Book. So that means I'm going to put it down here on the debit side. So I'm going to say this is my purchases VAT. And again, I'm already after forgetting the figure, and I come back up and it was €2,300. So again, girls, I approach this the exact same way as I did my Analysed Cash Book. Same rule. Debit, credit, difference. So on the debit side, I have €2,300. On the credit side, I have €7,590. And the difference between the two is 5,290. Now what we said the last time is the difference goes on the smaller side. So on the smaller side, I'm putting it in here on the 31st. First, my balance carried down of 5,290. So again, my two sides should balance, girls, so I need to double check that they do. I always have my matching, I always want these on the same line. They should never be, you know, on different lines. My kind of lines should always be kept on the same place. And when I add these together now, I have 7,590, and over here I have 7,590. To finish it off, I need to bring my balance down. Same as I did to the other one. The balance, if it starts off on the debit side, I move it underneath the line on the opposite side as my balance carry down. So on the 1st of the 6th, my balance brought down is 5,290. Okay, that's the hardest it's going to get, girls, because actually all of the others are just one entry, and usually I will just have to balance the VAT account. So I'm going to go back to capital. It's €12,500, and I'm going to do it was on the debit side of my Analysed Cash Book. So of course this should go on the credit side of my general ledger. So it was €12,500, double line to show that I closed that off. The next thing was my purchases. I have €10,000, girls. If I come back up, you'll see it. €10,000 there. It's on the credit side. So if we were in class, I'd be asking you where it goes, but if it's on the credit side of my Analysed Cash Book, of course it goes on the debit side of my general ledger. So I have €10,000 here, and I'm going to close it off with my double red line. Then I've got my wages of 1,700. Oh, sorry, my wages are 14,000. It's on the credit side of my Analysed Cash Book. So it is going on the debit side of my general ledger. So I have €14,000 here. And again, closing this off. And the final one is my telephone and broadband. And again, it's the exact same thing, girls, €1,700. It's on the credit side of my Analysed Cash Book. So it should go on the debit side of my general ledger. And just remember, you get marks for everything you do. and posting those one single entries are really, really straightforward. Whatever side they were on the Analysed Cash Book, you're posting them to the opposite side. So always complete as much as you absolutely can. Okay, so that's the second part of the video. Now sometimes girls they'll actually only ask me to do all of this, right? But the one problem with that is that you actually then don't know if it's balanced. You don't know if you've made a mistake along the way. So my checkpoint is the trial balance. Sometimes I'll be asked to do the trial balance as part of the question. Even if you're not asked to do it, I would go to a spare page in your workbook, and I would very, very quickly draw out a very quick trial balance in order to make sure that it balances. So I'm going to talk you through that in the next video. Okay, thanks very much.